Mr. Yip Hon Weng.
Madam Deputy Speaker, cross-border spending constitutes a key component of our e-commerce market. This is projected to reach 8 billion in 2025. As such, it is important to ensure that our tax policies are reviewed and revised accordingly. The decision to impose taxes on all imports by air or post will help to level the playing field for our local retailers. It will also help to supplement the increased government spending in the upcoming years. I would like to share my thoughts on 4 issues. First, Madam Deputy Speaker, we need to provide more support for lower income households. I'm concerned that imposing GST on all incoming overseas goods will lead to an increased burden on these residents. Has the government done research or sought feedback on how foreign online retailers intend to handle this tax increase? Will it be absorbed? If not, how much of it will be passed on to consumers? As this new bill mainly impacts individual buyers, the additional tax will be a heavier burden for our lower to middle income families. This will be compounded by the impact of the GST hike that is likely to be implemented in the next few years. Are there further measures on top of the existing assurance package and GST vouchers to mitigate the impact on them? Or can the quantum of these initiatives be increased to help families given this new change? Will it be possible to utilize the assurance package or GST vouchers to cover online purchases too? Second, Madam Deputy Speaker, we need to continue to encourage our local retailers to compete globally. Compared to many of their overseas competitors, which have large economies of scale, SMEs are disadvantaged as they often have to pay high rental and labour costs. If the savings on purchasing foreign imports is reduced, this could diminish the attraction of overseas purchases, thereby encouraging more Singaporeans to support local businesses. Nevertheless, why do Singaporeans shop from overseas sites? According to a survey, 8 in 10 local respondents shared that the main reason was the overall lower cost of procuring goods and services from foreign sites. The second reason was the wider variety of international brands, products, and the lack of availability from local retailers. If Singaporeans cannot find their preferred brand, services, or shopping experience locally, the imposition of the GST will do little to shift their buying behaviour towards local businesses. As such, local businesses must not be lulled into a false sense of security, thinking that they can rest on their laurels and become complacent with the perceived decreased competition from foreign markets. They must continue to innovate, use business analytics to understand their customers' needs, establish global partnerships, and bring in products that are in high demand. The government must continue to encourage and support our local businesses to compete globally by embarking on digitalization and by getting onto these online retail platforms. In this connection, perhaps the additional tax revenue from the imposition of GST can be funneled to support the globalization efforts of local businesses. Madam Deputy Speaker, my third point is on the need to tackle implementation challenges that come with the new taxation policies. With more companies and individuals obliged to comply with the new GST regime, compliance costs will therefore increase. What is the estimated number of low-value transactions in a year? There may be disproportionately large number of low versus high-value transactions. As such, the government may require disproportionately more resources to ensure that individuals comply with the new GST regulations. How will the government ensure that there are adequate resources to enforce the new policies in an efficient manner? Will more personnel be hired to handle the additional workload at IRAS? In light of the additional costs to ensure compliance, has any study been done to weigh up the cost of compliance, including prosecution of GST evasion, and the potential tax revenue that may be generated? With the new law, individuals are subjected to taxation or reverse charge. Is IRAS ready for the potential increase in enforcement action when this comes into play? As for businesses, local GST is imposed on all GST-registered companies in Singapore. They collect GST from the customer or absorb it. And the collective amount is paid to the government. Will foreign retailers who wish to sell to the Singapore market be GST registered? How will the government engage these foreign businesses and provide them with the relevant legislative and administrative material so that there's sufficient time to understand and apply the new practices. Perhaps this ties in with my above point on compliance. There are foreign companies with a large online shopping presence in Singapore, such as Amazon, Taobao, and Lazada. These companies allow smaller third-party companies to sell on their platforms. Have the relevant stakeholders engage these companies to collaboratively resolve the issue of compliance? What if the foreign retailer withholds GST payment? How will the government deal with overseas companies who fail to comply with our GST regulations? In the case of New Zealand, their inland revenue would monitor for non-compliant retailers. Under international agreements, it can request counterparts in some countries to collect tax on its behalf or assess and pursue unpaid tax through a retailer's national courts. Is this an option that we will pursue, or will the burden then irrevocably fall on the customer as a reverse charge? In addition, similar to Member Saktyandi's earlier point, how will consumers be made aware about whether their payment at the point of purchase already includes GST? And will they be told that they have to pay additional GST to collect their parcel in Singapore? SingPost has recently switched to an online cashless system for collecting GST on packages valued above $400. The new policy would see a significant rise in the number of packages due for GST payment. This could also provide opportunities for scams. Unscrupulous merchants may leverage on this to cheat consumers into paying them a sum to retrieve their purchase. Parcel clearance scams, where callers masquerade as custom officers asking for payments to retrieve a parcel, have not been uncommon even before this. It is thus imperative to educate consumers on when and where GST is to be paid and the official payment platforms to do so. I will expect that SingPost or other online delivery platforms be well equipped by then to address more queries concerning GST payments on their parcels. How will the government keep track of all parcels coming into Singapore and their GST payment status? Some packages may contain purchases from small businesses or gifts from family and friends. Some may not come with invoices. Second items, like those from eBay, may have had their GST paid when the items were first bought. Are these second items still subjected to GST taxation a second time? It is also not unheard of that some foreign retailers would allow customers to underdeclare the value of their purchases to evade taxes or to reduce the amount of tax payment due. How will the government police these? Madam Deputy Speaker, my last point is on the implementation of media sales. Many firms now employ gig workers from overseas or outsource to provide remote services like designing programs or media pieces. Such services are difficult to apply a quantum to and are easy to evade. As such, many of these services could be underdeclared or not declared at all to avoid GST. In addition, many of these small firms may neither have a turnover of 1 million nor are GST registered. Will these firms, which may be acting as an underlying supplier on redeliverer, be liable for reverse charge if the services provided are below $400? If reverse charge still applies to these firms, can they still pass this additional cost to the consumers? In conclusion, Madam Deputy Speaker, taxing all imports is necessary as e-commerce grows globally. Nevertheless, the government should provide some support to lower income groups who are impacted by such taxes. In Yio Chu Kang, I recall meeting Madam K during a house visit, who was a homemaker looking after 3 kids. Her husband, who is the sole breadwinner, is a delivery driver and does not earn a lot. Madam K supplements her family income by importing children's storybooks, toiletries and cosmetics from China and Korea, which are either cheaper or not available in Singapore. These items do not cost a lot, and Madam K brings in items in small amounts. I therefore urge the government to provide some support to the lower income groups, micro businesses and entrepreneurs like Madam K and her family, who may be significantly affected by the changes if the tax is passed to them. This policy is also an opportunity for our local businesses to innovate in the face of a globalized world. If local businesses are unable to improve their offerings and customer experience, they can expect our residents to continue shopping overseas. Our competition is the world. If we do not innovate, we will stagnate. Finally, implementation is policy. We must ensure that the relevant agencies are well equipped to handle the additional workload and customer enquiries. The policies must be well enforced with adequate information made accessible to the public, lest they become loopholes to be exploited for dishonesty and fraud. I support the bill.